your position, Nick, the best recipe to actually help this cloud have its maximum effect? Standardization?
I'm not so sure about standardization because I think you lose a lot of flexibility if you try and standardize, and I don't fundamentally believe that there's any one element that fits all business models. I think in the financial services industry, what would really help is if actually Swift actually did have a set of services, though. I mean, if we look at, to me, Swift is the super cloud, right? It has the ecosystem, it has all of your
It's the cloud that doesn't know it's a cloud.
Yeah,
really.
it is. Yeah. We need to tell it, right? Go knock on its door and see who's behind there. But I think it needs to. It has core infrastructure. It has connectivity. It has some services. I think it needs to take a leaf out of a couple of the books that we have here, and really start to provide a veneer, a layer on top of that, where that itself becomes the enabler.
So Swift should hire all of you to market cloud at Swift. I think that's probably the best recipe out there. Claire, would you agree that is Swift the Uber cloud?
Sorry?
Is Swift the Uber cloud?
Yes, I believe Swift is an Uber cloud. I think the other thing for you in terms of how we're going to make a difference, going back to your comment about the core legacy systems, is does it make sense to put that core legacy back? No. Where we need to make a difference is to help banks think about what they want to do from a business perspective differently. And you always have to come in, what are the challenges that I want to do differently for my business? Do I want to reorganize how I do payments? Do I want to centralize payments department? Do I want a spoken hub payments department? Once you're able to help banks work through, and I think Swift has a major role in that, in working through how their business activities change, we can then provide the services amongst all of us to facilitate that change. But it's not going to come from us sitting here saying, we want to provide these services, please come and use us. It's got to come from the banks and helping the banks understand how they want to do things differently in their own processes, and then coming to us and working out how we can provide those core services all the way along the spectrum.
You didn't think you were going to get homework in this session, did you? But you now got some homework. Neil, you mentioned something similar. The only way to take advantage of the cloud is you think not about infrastructure, not about applications, but about data. What is the role of Swift in that?
Swift should be providing services to the cloud. My big concern, throwing a challenge out there, is that Swift are just far too slow. So there was an announcement from SunGard today that they're using a Swift API for the validation of the MT messages. That's great, except if you go to the presentation on that API, it actually doesn't do network validation rules yet. It does as much as it can, but there's about 30% missing. And in the next 12 months, that 30% will be caught up. But there's no scope yet for market practice rules. There's all sorts of stuff missing. Market practice rules will be about 2-3 years away. It's slow. It's horribly, horribly slow. I think the challenge is that, and there's something on Chris Skinner's blog a week or so ago. I think the numbers are about right. You might correct me. I think there's 1 billion account holders in the world. There are 4 billion mobile phone owners in the world. The mobile phone companies, the telcos, are busy figuring out ways to do payments over the mobile phone network. Swift's competition, actually the bank's competition, is going to be these low-cost providers of payment infrastructures that don't have this legacy. You're also saying it's going to be too costly for me to move on. It's going to be too costly for me to take advantage of this. I need to pay my COBOL programmer his massive salary. Well, it's tough actually, because if it is so costly, then Nokia or O2 or T-Mobile are going to get you. And this industry needs to move far quicker, and the cloud is one way, along with Swift being much faster, that the industry can respond to the external competition.
I want to ask Joe's opinion on that. Would it be possible, just as a hypothetical exercise, that if Swift doesn't move fast enough, that we take some of Jeff's really cool, storage, and maybe some of Willie's stuff, and maybe some of Russell's stuff, and we just patched together, and we got a new Swift already and much faster. Is that a possibility?
I think so, and I think somebody will do it if it's not Swift.
Okay,
And
good.
I think people are doing that.
That's interesting. This becomes an interesting debate. Joe, what's your perspective on this?
Well, just briefly on that, I don't think that's
We're doing